Welcome to the Tao of Pizza, where we feature top logistics leaders, entrepreneurs, and supply chain innovators and share their inspiring stories with a holistic twist.
Mark Hiddleson here, host of the Tao of Pizza podcast, where I talk with top industry innovators in the warehousing, logistics, and supply chain business with a holistic twist. Today, we're going to be talking with a very innovative teacher, mother, and grandmother about music, the art and science of learning, and other fun stuff. But before introducing today's guest, this episode is brought to you by Specialized Storage Solutions. Hey, I've been in the logistics and storage industry for several decades, and I know I don't look that old, but it's true. We provide industry-leading warehouse storage solutions nationwide. So basically, if you have a warehouse that needs rack, shelving, carts, conveyors, or mezzanines, we'll help with design, engineering, installations, inspections, and repairs to help our clients optimize their logistics operations. And Judy, sometimes people don't even realize that we can actually help with permit acquisition services. We take a holistic look at your entire business supply chain ecosystem to develop the resources for continually improving your operation. To learn more, visit our website at specialracks.com. Give us a call at 707-732-3892, or even give my personal email out to podcast listeners. So email me at markhiddleson@aol.com if you're ready to take your warehouse storage and retrieval systems to the next level. But today we're joined by Judy Hanna. She's a mother, grandmother, and an educator of more than 50 years. Music is a thread that's run through her life since age 3. She crafted music as a tool for innovative teaching in grade school and special education classes all over the Central Valley and foothills of California. Besides music, history and language are her significant passions. Being a teacher is a very great part of her identity, and she's the mother and number one hero of the host of the Tao of Pizza podcast. Mom, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Mark. It's really nice to see you.
Yeah. How did you like that introduction?
Yeah, that was pretty nice. Sounded familiar.
You're like, hey, that's me.
Yeah, sounds good too. I mean,
So
I could get a job.
I'm going to tell one on ourselves. We had some fun getting this Zoom meeting set up. We had a computer update. We had a mouse. Did you find the mouse or?
No, I just didn't bother. I carried it with me in my computer case for eons, but I must have decided I didn't need it in my computer case, so I put it somewhere safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one right here. Because I just use the pad on my computer. Well, the more and more paperwork and stuff I'm doing on my computer, I'm getting like carpal tunnel, or my head get repetitive stress industries because the little mouse pads suck. So then I got this, but I don't really know how to use this one that good.
Oh.
I never use it, and it makes my fingers hurt because they're already messed up from. Anyways, so
Well, I just used a finger pad for years, and then sometimes it's not convenient. So you really do have to have the mouse if you want to drag music, to a file or something. But haven't done that for a while.
Yeah, so I have to give a shout out to my kids, to Serena, Drake, and Cody, that all three want to say hi. And I know they'll be watching this podcast. And I didn't ask the boys because they would have done something funny. I would ask them like, what's a question? But I asked Serena, and she's going to school to be a teacher. So she's following your footsteps, another hero. You're one of her heroes. So she wanted me to ask you, you've been a teacher for 50 years, but what was it like being a student? I thought that was a great question. So share some of what it was like to be a
Okay.
student.
It's kind of funny that you should ask because when I was little, I was a very quiet child. But I was the youngest, and my older siblings probably talked a lot. So therefore, I would sit behind a chair, play with my little paper dolls, and that was the image that my family had of me. But as soon as I went to kindergarten, and I don't know if you know this already, but I started talking. I talked to every quiet person in the class who would never talk. And at nap time, the teacher, who was a lovely woman, put me next to every child because we used to have nap time in the rugs. And
Yeah.
finally, she put me next to my next door neighbor, who was very, very quiet. I even got that little girl to talk. So, being verbal has not been a problem for me in school. And I was never a smart aleck, but I shared my sense of humor in the classroom. But I always loved school. And I just luckily was growing up in a small town and, kept the same friends for years. So, but I never wanted to be a teacher. So it's really funny that, your daughter and then also a niece of mine, she's a teacher already. And then Serena is studying to be a teacher and she
Who's your
loves,
niece? Who's a teacher?
my niece Stacy's daughter,
Oh,
Reagan.
is it Reagan?
Reagan. Hmm.
Nice.
And I got a message from her recently that she's loving, what she's doing, second grade. So, and I'm saving all my books because I'm hoping that Serena is going to use them. And
Wow. I see you have some in the background. I'm looking. It's hard for me because I recognize we've had those encyclopedias since I was like
yeah,
10 years old, and I think they were old then. I remember
I
looking
think
up stuff.
they're 1986, I think. And
No,
that's
we
going
had
to,
those. We had those when uh, in the early '80s. I'll bet you they're 1966.
well, no, I think I looked at them and maybe they're not any older than 70s, but the only reason I have them is when this computer world crashes,
I'm coming to your house.
this knowledge, right? And I have some
Yeah,
medical journals too. Uh, and they take up a lot of room, but what are you going to do?
I
So
love those books. So
that's
you
why
still have the four medical journals that came with it. They kind of look like
I'm not
encyclopedias. And
sure I kept all of them, but I think I have a medical journal that was my grandmother's. I'm not sure that I have all the medical journals that came with that, but they do. They are, they're weighty and they take up a lot of space, but I'm keeping them just in case, you or your children will need them in some horrible future
yeah,
world.
I see you have the book Gifts of Deceit on there too. So we'll have to. They could maybe share that story at the end if we have time.
Oh, oh,
So I
I have
want to ask you. You didn't go into teaching when you went to school. You went to school for
no.
something else.
Oh,
So
yeah. Yes, I wanted to be a diplomat. And I was going to San Francisco State. I studied politics and diplomacy, and there were two schools of thought. When I was going to school, there was the UN model, and then there was a more, what would I call it, progressive model. And so, I probably, found a little bit about both. And definitely the UN is not perfect. And that's why some students, are not, um, we're not fans of the UN. And so I, I loved San Francisco State, but I transferred to Sac State. They did not have international relations. So I had to, completely change my outlook. So I was going to be a probation officer. And Serena might be interested in this because there was no way I could ever be a probation officer. I would have said, "Oh, you poor
they're
thing."
just
Oh,
letting people go free. Michael's, you were pretty handy with the wooden spoon. I mean, if
well,
you
only on
work that
you.
into
That spoon was very thin, Mark. It wasn't like those rounded spoons. It was a flat little wooden thing. But
anyway.
anyway, the only reason I ended up being a teacher is because I fell into substituting after, and I never could have been a probation officer because in my day, I scored very high on the interviews, in the writing, but there was only one a woman probation officer, and I never would have gotten a job unless she retired. So
Wow.
I just fell into substituting,
Uh-huh.
and I found that was my passion. So I started out wanting to do high school, but you were in elementary school, and it just fit better for me to do elementary, and that was where I just loved, I have not been able to get away. Only for 2 years have I been able to step away from being in a classroom. But I love learning,
Yeah,
and I love teaching. That's why I want to teach you how to play the piano or maybe the ukulele.
that is. So you've always thought that music is a super important. Um, well, in our family, I mean, music runs through our family. I mean, we sing songs. I was laughing about that
Yeah,
walking to work the other day that we it didn't matter. 4th of July, any holiday party, if my grandparents and you and your sister and
yeah.
all the kids and somebody could play the piano. Um, and I could play. I was thinking I can play the trumpet pretty well. I still can pick it up, but it's not a trumpet. It's not very sexy. No one wants to hear you banging on the trumpet.
Well, yeah, if you had other people to play with, it would be great.
Yeah, yeah. So I did practice piano. I mean, that's another thing that hurt my
Right.
finger. Like I'm a wimp. I didn't realize when you practice the piano, you're doing conditioning. I mean, your
Yeah,
hand.
wrist, fingers, and a lordy guitar. You asked me about the guitar, and I devote so much time to playing the ukulele now that when I pick up the guitar, it's a big stretch for the fingers, and I can do it, but I need to 10 minutes a day or something on the guitar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just like it's good for imagination. I really enjoy listening to music, and that's what one of my best friends, Chris Murphy. You've met him. He's a
Right.
musician, and I love going somewhere with Chris because I'll sing along because it's just like our family. Chris will pick up the guitar, he'll start playing, and I'll sing anything. We're laughing, our family, because we think we know the words to most of these songs. A lot of the songs that we sing, we have no idea. We see the words later, and it's like, oh, that's what that says. Um, but what are some of the ways you've used music to
Um,
inspire kids or
well, music, art, poetry. Um, we can fall into a very boring way of teaching, and kids just need a lot of they need a little pizzazz in their school. And if a kid's having trouble reading, but they are singing a song, and then you have them reading the words of the song, or maybe they're just learning the words of the song and then they're looking at the words of the song, or poetry. I love using poetry to teach history. And they're I should have researched for this interview more, but into the valley of death rode the 500. There were guns to the left of them, guns to the right of them. And kids really get into that. And each one of them has a paper that they read off, so the whole class would, and sometimes the kids would have different parts. So like at Christmas time, we always did the night before Christmas, and we had sound effects, and each group had to learn um, their part. And also, when I taught third grade, I did the oh my gosh, the ballet, the Christmas Nutcracker. And I would divide my kids into groups. And not every teacher would want to do this because it takes little kids a long time in a group to figure out what they're going to do. So you kind of have to rotate between the groups. You have leaders who are, yeah, right, they'll go with it. And and dancing, I mean, movement is really important to the brain also. And then movement to music is just really great. And we had the greatest time. And one student that I had affected him his whole life. He did the Russian dance with his group that year. And he's the son of your fourth grade teacher, who's a lovely woman. And he immediately started a collection of nutcrackers. And I visited their house one year, and there's a whole china. Well, he's not in the house anymore. He's grown up, but he had a whole china closet full of nutcrackers. And I guess he's turned out to be a very interesting, creative kind of guy as an adult, and an entertaining. His mom says he's got a very good sense of humor. But you know, I have not been able to do that for 900 kids, but I hope there is a little light bulb uh,
yeah.
that might have shined on some of them. But kids who are having trouble, let's say in fifth grade. I taught fifth grade for a while, for several years, and they were supposed to be studying the history epics, from like where the beginning of time. And I would have them make little murals of all the different epics in history. And, a little girl who was in a pull-out program who had a learning disability, she did a great job on that. So I could give her an A on that. So she did all these beautiful, drawings about, early man and whatever, sections of history came after that. Um, and I wasn't an easy teacher. I mean, I made the fifth graders do state reports long after some teachers gave up and they had the kids do A, B, C, D reports about a state. I still had them, do little cards with different, and then they got to draw maps, which is like art.
Yeah.
So you just try to pull in, and then plays. Oh God, we did several plays and I wrote several plays for the kids. So,
That's fun. And it's what was thinking about the poems. I love poetry too. I mean, we both have a love for language, and and I was thinking about the song, and I was thinking about warehousing innovation. Like, we're gonna have a song for a team. It's like, get the plans, get the plans, get the truck, get the truck.
oh, that's a great idea.
Throttle in, raw, you move them out, move them in, move them out, move them out. We'll just have to get our words of the 6 things we want to do. Tell
Oh,
the material, tell the client, call the phone, pick up the lift. I can have you write a song for our team on for executing.
okay. You know what? It's too bad my whole family is not still alive, because when we used to sit around the dining room table, we would start jingles, or like any subject, no matter what we were discussing, somebody would start singing a song. And, we did rhymes. We did. And I thought, gosh, if we could sit around this table and do some advertising, we would have been
The
multi-billion.
Have you seen the Mad Men? Well, that's why I started the podcast, Mom. That was my
Yeah.
secret weapon. Is I'm gonna have you write jingles. You're gonna be like Charlie Sheen on
Yeah.
2.5 Men.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be Charlie Sheen, but you can help me write the jingles. You can be my
Yeah.
muse.
I don't want to be the brother either. And I don't want to be the housekeeper, although she was very funny.
Birdo's funny.
Yeah.
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 So,
She passed away.
oh, she did? I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Not too long ago. Yeah. I think in 2023, I think.
Yeah. I really like the guy that took Charlie Sheen's place, but that show was never the
Yeah.
same
Well,
after.
it can't be.
Yeah.
It's like I say, the movie's never as good as the book. And he may have been, yeah, didn't see that many of them, but people just want, I mean, when I'm watching a series, how well, I don't know if you guys do, but I'll just watch one whole season of a series, or 3 seasons or whatever. And then my friends are gone. The series, all the seasons are over, and you got to say adios to your friends unless you want to watch it all over again,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of the Ashton Kutcher's problem, is that he wasn't Charlie Sheen.
He wasn't. Yeah, there was no way
Yeah.
to recover. So, what else? What else do you want to talk about? We started to talk about the TV show. So, what are you watching right now?
Well, I like murder mysteries. I love the British, because they do really good movies and television, and they're not putting on any airs. I mean, if they need their teeth straightened when they were kids, they usually still need they're just real people. I don't like the kind of shows where they do the Y incision, and I don't like really bloody, murdery,
Oh
hatchet,
no.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
really twisty kind of mysteries um, are really interesting, to me, because in reading, I've always read um, biographical stuff, but it's nice to have something that's just light, and mysterious, interesting. Yeah.
So, going back to your career,
Yes, the long one.
what's one of your proudest moments? Something you look back on, you're especially proud of, like a big success.
Oh gosh. I don't know. I've been in it for so many years. Um, I know if I have a proudest moment. I know I'm proud of everything that I've done. And, I'm proud of teaching people English who can't speak English and people who didn't speak Spanish and teaching language, in a way that they don't do it in school, you know.
So
So
you're
I
really
can't.
gifted. Say something about that because you're 100% bilingual. You and Serena is the only one of our kids who really like she's really done well in Spanish, and she even our kids have heard you or my dad when he was alive at a restaurant, and they're like, "Your parents speak Spanish better than other people that are from Mexico." Like
Yeah,
great Spanish. So that's a good one because you have taught a lot of people English. I mean,
yeah,
wow, think of the difference that makes if in this country if you're knowing how to speak English well versus not. I mean,
yeah. And
that's a
see,
huge accomplishment.
I
So
started.
what did you do? What's your unique approach?
Oh, well, it's a multi. It's a it's seeing, hearing, feeling. When I taught, and that's why I couldn't keep it up because I did it for 2 years and then I did it for another year later because I worked full time and I had all these props. I had ironing board, I had iron, I had an apron, I had Mickey Mouse. It was a main character that did things um, and I made jokes, in Spanish. And
Yeah.
not supposed to speak Spanish. I mean, but I would make Spanish, asides in Spanish and make everybody laugh. And these are people who worked all day and then they had the stamina to come sit in a classroom at night. So you got to entertain them. I
Yeah.
had to run around.
Are
I
you kidding, Mom? They're going for the entertainment. You're the
exactly.
entertainment.
And so entertaining is exhausting. And also I guess I had a proud period in my teaching where I was a mentor to other teachers and I did in services. And there's nothing worse than and teaching your own your own friends in service because it doesn't matter if they like you, respect you, they do not want to be at an in service. And so I tried really hard to be entertaining to them too. But you put teachers, in this pressure situation. Anything on the news that's not working, we got to do this in the school. Up, the schools are going to have to start teaching this, right? And so that's what happened with the English learners, and English learners. If I could teach all English learners uh, or all Spanish learners, or the way I do it, and I didn't invent it. I studied these these writers, these educators who have written books about it. It's you know, you don't open a book and say, hola, hola, Jose, como esta. You have an interactive classroom with a lot of objects and you tell people, sit down, stand up, sit down, stand
It's
up.
role playing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what I call role playing. People laugh.
Yeah.
It's one of the most effective ways of learning. And so I was saying, our team, we're going to have a thing where there's 6 people on our team, and everyone got nervous. But I said, somebody's going to play me, then I'll play Cody, and then somebody else can play Spencer. So I know
Yeah.
Drake's going to want to play me. And then you get into the shoot, it's a different experience when you're like, okay, well, what this person would say, the mannerisms, but there's actually more learning. And I call people all the time if I need to make a difficult phone call or something, a phone call I don't want to make, I'll call somebody else. It's like you can't read it in a book, but you can
Uh-huh.
act it out, right? Same thing. Toca la
Yeah.
nariz. That's what I remember you were telling me.
Yeah.
Toca,
Toco la nariz,
toca la nariz. Toca la, oh. And that's the Spanish I know because
Yeah.
that's
Also,
what you
you
taught me,
can
but I
draw.
still, what's
You can
that?
draw things on the wall or on a
Uh-huh.
board, and you're talking a different language while you're drawing, and the people have to see what you're drawing. Are you drawing a house or a tree or somebody's face? Like, now I'm going to draw an eye and I'm going to draw another eye and I'm going to make curly hair. And you're doing it in a foreign language and they're saying, oh, okay. And you do that enough. I did that. I taught Spanish in summer school one year, and also piano, which was fun. And well, like within a couple of weeks, the kids were able to do a play, So, I mean, that was called the Rush program, but I had them, you know, uh, acting out, repeating, and you always model. You keep modeling, and then you'll stop modeling and see if they're catching on, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then, because when a baby learns, they are listening first, and then they're speaking, and then down the road, then they're reading, and then they're writing, and that's how you would teach any language. And thanks
So,
to whoever whoever taught me this.
who cares? It's like you can just claim it. So how long ago was it? And so to me, that's like a holistic approach to learning because you're involving your whole body. You're not just thinking you're trying to pack things into your head of things
Hmm.
to think about, but it's actually you're hearing, you're using your hands, and then hearing it and seeing it at the same time being played out because that's like you said, that's the natural way you would learn a language. You would just witness other people talking
Yeah,
to
and
each
one
other.
more factor is the stress level.
Ah,
You are stressed, your brain
yes.
goes into, you know, brain. What's it? What am I talking about? The brainstem, your brainstem mode,
Yeah.
and that goes with math too. And so, I when I was teaching math, especially, when I got older, then the longer you teach, just like everything else, the better you get at it, right? The more
Yeah.
little, if you are good, if
Uh-huh.
you're not, you just keep, having the kids do color in math,
Dittos. Ditto
color
sheets.
in, yeah. Uh, but I had the kids each have a chalkboard. I mean, this is so basic that Serena, you can listen to this. Um, every kid has a chalkboard. We're doing math, and we're going to do some problems together. So you introduce the lesson, you do some problems together. So then I give them a problem, and they all have their board, and they can look at somebody else's because that's how you learn.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So everybody
Collaboration.
has their chalkboard, and then you're going, oh my goodness. So they're reducing the stress because they can look at somebody else's, and then you go boards up, and everybody holds their board. So I wanted to tell the superintendent one year, all I need is chalkboard. You want to cut the budget? All I need is a little chalkboard. But and the kid has to learn eventually, right? But if they have several practices where they're relaxed and they can look at somebody else's, then sooner or later it's just like the language, they get it. But you can't do that for every problem. Um, they some of them don't get help with homework. It's just, it is a real challenge, teaching. And now young people, harder than ever to teach.
I've heard teacher was a rumor. I remember you saying this when I was a kid, and I never thought it was true. You said the parents are the toughest to deal with. Like parents always think their kid is 100% in the right 100% of the time, and I thought you were full of it. But it happened to me with my kids. I thought anytime my kids, if they came home, if there was a letter or something, I was like, oh, obviously this teacher has something screwed up because my kid
Oh
is
no.
doing everything. And I think people are good people. It's just a natural, and even I knew it. I had the self awareness to go like, oh, this is what my mom was talking about. And I joke with my kids, I'm 0 and 33 against any school administrator or everything. Because whenever I go in there to defend my kid, there's always something they left out of the story.
Oh, embarrassing.
And then I get there and it's like I came here to defend you, and this is oh my god.
Oh,
But
yeah.
what are some of the other things? What are some of the other challenges or things you got better? I loved what you talked about of getting better. I have a saying, and there's some people who do 1 year over and over and over for 30 years.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
they go
every
home when they go home when the contract time is over, right? And
yeah,
then those of us who are still there at 5 o'clock at night and we don't have all our work done.
And it's every business, not just
Yeah.
teaching. There's the people who just show up and they're doing the same thing. But I love learning. I love,
Yeah.
being a better than I was. Um, what are some of the other things? So what do you think of what the parents? So the parents are
Uh,
toughest part.
well, and it's funny because I changed schools. I volunteered to change schools, and I stepped from a school where I was beloved. I had been there for 14 years teaching first grade, and then first grade, third grade, fifth grade, and back to third grade. So mostly third grade. The kids love me, the parents love me, everything was really cool. Just across town, I'm a new teacher. And I'm running kind of off subject here, so you're gonna have to get me bring me back. But
Doing
I
fine.
was the evil teacher because these students that I had a fifth, sixth combination, and every teacher who didn't want certain sixth graders sent them over to my school. The fifth graders were spoiled. They'd had the same teacher for 2 years in a row, and they thought she was just so wonderful. And so I had a lot of trouble. And I'm doing a different grade, and I'm doing a split grade, and I've got behavior issues. And then I have parents who are questioning me constantly. And it took a couple of years for me to be the beloved teacher again, because I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh," they didn't know me. And but when I was teaching fourth, fifth combination, one of my last years, a parent that I remember, not a bad parent. Um, I have a couple of funny stories about parents, but one parent in particular came in, and they were not violent people, but they were ticked off because their kid was not getting very good grades. And he was a wonderful child, but he had a reading disability. And the teacher the year before had not been honest about his performance. And I am not a really tough grader. I really am not. I tried made it pretty easy. And so if I was having issues with this kid's grades, it was honest, right? And then so I get these parents, he's never done that. He's never had a C before. And he's always gotten really good grades. So I went back and I talked to the previous teacher who told me, oh, yeah, he had a lot of trouble with this and that. But I think she really didn't grade him he was not remotely close to how he was doing. So he would have been really a rudely awakened when he got in upper grades.
Yeah.
But, a really great kid. But, you do everything you can to help kids. But, um, you know, uh, reading issues are just really difficult because you can clown around your whole childhood. And if you decide you want to be a lawyer when you grow up, you can read all about it, right? But
Anything. I mean, reading is one of those things that it's the entry level ticket into
yes.
so many different, like, if you wanna learn me now, you can learn around, that's why we have the podcast for
Hmm.
people who don't read good. I mean, podcast is a way of learning. Well, I thought they were goofy 5 or 6 years ago, but it's a great way to learn, kind of so the same things you're talking about. It's different than reading a book. Most of them have a video so you can see, but even the ones you can hear, it's an audio, like an audio. I love the idea of audiobooks, but I like reading. I'm a reader. Like, I love there's something about reading. I quit
Right.
reading for a couple years. I didn't realize because it was hard. It was taking me forever, and I couldn't figure it out. With my eyes, I couldn't see.
Yeah.
I would get stuck on a paragraph and then back and two and back and two. I'm like, man, I used to be able to read a chapter in like 20 minutes. Now it's taking me 20 minutes to read one page. But now I have reading glasses.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
difference in the world.
I have a lot of eye trouble, and I just read so much that it makes my eye trouble worse. I'm a candidate uh for the surgery for my eyes, cataracts, and you have to wait forever to get the surgery, and my glasses aren't right for me. And I've stopped wearing glasses all the time because it's just as easy for me to read with no glasses as it is with glasses. But anyway, I have a funny story about another student who was really cute the same year. This little girl, fourth grader, fourth, fifth is a great combination because the fourth kids are really angelic. And the fifth kids are still, they're not, they're not starting to act like junior high school yet. The
Yeah.
sixth graders start hot dogging but this one little girl, her parents were very religious and a very supportive parents. I had no complaints about the parents. A mother, came into the classroom, but the little girl went home, and this is something little kids do. Show the kids a film. It was not about evolution. It was about, I don't know, maybe the sea or something.
Uh-huh.
And she got this idea that I told them that monkeys came out of the sea.
You're one of those. Oh,
and this and it was
Judy.
it was a father who called the school and wanted to talk to the principal, and she was kind of chuckling because she goes, I don't think that Miss Hannah would say that. But and the father, I had no contact with the father, and he was a concerned father. And so I was laughing. I said, no, I can't remember exactly the subject matter, but no, there were no monkeys coming out of the sea. There was no, there was no
Are you sure you
Darwin.
didn't write a song about a monkey?
A monkey came from the sea.
That's a good
I
jingle.
mean, a seahorse would be as close as you'd have to a
Monkey
monkey,
coming out of the sea.
but
Coming out the
oh
sea.
well, but that, a lot of things happen, but that, um, parents can be an issue, and they're probably more of an issue. That last last elementary school that I taught at, the parents were very pushy, you
Uh-huh.
know, and they wanted to kind of control
Yeah.
things. And parents have a right to give input, but um, you can't rule the whole roost.
That's a hot topic right now about parents and school and
Oh
everything. I
Lord,
know I don't
yeah,
stay right on top of the news, but I know that it's it's on the national agenda of where what the role of parents is. And I think it's obviously it's nuanced, right? I'm really glad I'm really happy that Serena is going into education because she's like you, and she's one of it's a passion for her, and I think we need teachers like that, and teachers who
yeah,
are going to be creative, use different things to get to different kids, use music, educate the whole person. I like to say like the whole person paradigm, uh,
yeah.
body, music, poetry.
Yeah. And see, art is another, I'm not an artist, but I'm a great artist for kids because they think I'm really good. Even fifth grade,
Yeah, wow.
right? A stick
Yeah,
figure looked good to them, because I would teach them how to draw a body with a neck, and not not and animals and scenes, but I'm not an artist. And so art is another way to reach kids or to find something that the kid can really connect to. If they can really connect to this thing, maybe they stay in school, you know, and maybe they have a career that there's all kinds of careers that involve art, drawing, whatever. So,
especially now. I mean, creativity is one of the most important skills you can have because it's important to be flexible. Things are changing so fast. I mean, things have changed. Think about um, what was it like being in college or in your mid 20s and having a baby to take care of. That's one of
oh,
the
I don't know if you want to
something.
hear about Mark, but, you know, um,
But what
I,
was it like for you? I mean, I hadn't thought about that because that had to
uh,
be amazing experience to be 23, 22, 23, and
yeah,
have this.
yeah, I got my degree when I was 23, and I was fortunate, and I've said this many times, that I had already finished part of my junior year. So all I had to do was finish my junior year and my senior year. And I don't want to spend a horribly long time on this, but I was going to San Francisco State, and it was during the Vietnam War, and there was a lot of protests, and the campus was closed down. Well, not closed down, but um, a lot of the services, there were no more services on the campus. The cafeteria workers were on strike because the students were on strike, and yada yada yada.
So it
So
was major, major. I didn't know that. That's a good.
yeah. So when I was expecting you, I was still going to school, but a lot of the classes were a lot more open as far as how you get your grade, and I didn't feel like attending so much because I didn't feel good, right? But uh, one class, you just practically made your own grade, and
Yep. And that's what you tell all your friends. Linda, you have to share that information. What are the classes we can take where you make your own grade?
but yeah, I think I may be wrong, but I think I was able to make my own grade, and but I didn't give myself an A. I mean, what a fool.
Yeah.
But anyway, so after I had you, I didn't go back to school for a while, but I did go pretty quickly. And I think I probably started going on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But anyway, my niece was, or my cousin was babysitting you, and you had never been left alone except for one night with your grandparents. And they had to bring you home in the middle of the night because you were crying. And at the time, they were living in an apartment and they were so conscientious, right? They didn't want the neighbors to complain. So, but you cried every single time I left to go to school. You
Oh,
bawled until you threw up sometimes. And your my cousin Christy was a lovely kid, but I it was really hard to walk out the door. But once I walked out the door, it was like, okay, whew, right.
yeah.
And so, but it's a lot easier when you're older. I mean, I wasn't very much older, but I think I don't remember it as being difficult. I went to school, I did the work that I had to do, and I had somebody with you when when you were when I was in school, but you were just a tot. I mean, just a toddler, right?
Yeah.
But
Yep.
no, cry. Mark just screamed it. And that this is some a learning advice for anybody who wants to have children. Don't don't keep them at home with no other person in charge of them because it's just not going to work. You need to have a little babysitter here and there until they're used to other people because it was just like a shock for you to have somebody
Yeah.
besides your mommy. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my first years of going to daycare. I remember there was one when we lived in Sacramento downtown that was called the Busy Bee or something.
Right. Right.
Really young in that. But I remember it sucking. Even in Manteca, which would have been like pre-kindergarten, even
Yeah.
kindergarten. It's like, why does my mom have to leave? Like,
Yeah.
this is
That's not
not cool.
right. I know. It's not the best, it isn't, but you do start socializing with other kids. But I remember that the time that a little kid was bugging you and you said, well, my father's a policeman and he's going to come and arrest you. So you got in trouble, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and you were being picked on. And I don't know if I can't remember now whether they got after the kid who was picking on you, but you were taught not to fight. And as a teacher, whoever fights gets in trouble. It doesn't matter who starts it, right?
Yeah.
And you and your best friend, luckily you had your best friend with you in your kindergarten class. Um,
Was it Michael
yeah,
Cardoza?
Mike. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were being teased or picked on. You were the biggest kid by a head of
Yeah.
anybody in the class.
Yeah.
But your parents told you not to fight. And so we told you, okay, you tell this kid, he was throwing sand at you, I think, or whatever. I'm going to give you a break this time. If you
Kindergarten. He's learning the Alex Karras negotiating school for
But
awesome.
if you do it one more time, I don't know what I said that you were going to, give him a punch or something.
Yeah,
And
I remember
so,
Mike telling me to just kick his ass. I mean,
yeah,
so I do remember that. Mike Cardoza and I, he sent me a text this morning where there's a bicycle race that Chris Johnson and Michael and
yeah.
we do it every year. And Casey says it's not a race, but I did win 2 years ago. I came in first
Yeah.
place. Uh, but Mike and I have stayed in touch. It's cool. I mean, that's a long friendship. Kindergarten was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So uh, he was in the early reading group and I was in the late reading group. And I used to let him ride my bicycle because he got out of school an hour earlier than I did. So he could take my bicycle out and cruise it around because he didn't have a bicycle. He always tells the story, and I love
Yeah,
it.
and he lived right by the school.
Yeah, he lived like a block home from school, so he could ride it home. He could ride it back to school. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
good old Mike Cardoza. And we've took on the bully. We're still taking on bully. Mike's a real hothead. He doesn't take shit from anybody.
Oh,
Uh, but yeah, that's good. We're still friends. Yeah.
yeah. That is really nice, you know. My best friend, we met in first grade, and she's been my best friend for 70 years,
Wow.
which is really crazy. And we
That is,
still try to get together.
yeah, those friendship relationships. And when we get back together, it is almost like it was yesterday, when we
Right.
spent time together.
No time passed.
So we're running to the very end,
Yeah.
Mom. I want to ask you, I have a great question I ask a lot of my guests. What's your favorite podcast? And
My
I know it's this one, but yeah.
Of
Do you
course,
watch any
because I
other?
hardly watch any podcasts.
Yeah, I
So,
know.
um, yeah, I like the podcast with the I don't know if you call her the holistic lady, the physical, mm, you know,
Oh,
what is
Vicky
that? Yeah,
Qigong?
yeah,
Yeah, so Vicky is yeah, martial arts hall of fame qigong master, and she's a energy coach and public speaking coach.
yeah,
So you're so I see what you're saying. Those your favorite podcasts are all episodes of this podcast. That's it. You're the biggest fan. That's
yeah.
awesome.
You know,
That-
I don't have time. You know, I do my ukulele. I'm
uh-huh.
studying. I'm studying Spanish because you know, yes, I had 8 years of Spanish, but you know when that was? I used Spanish in my job, but I don't use Spanish anymore. So I've reviewed it, and I'm actually learning something because I've gotten high enough where I'm learning things that I wasn't ever taught. So and I'm doing Dutch. So and don't, you know, unless you really find it the puzzle that you like to solve, you
Uh-huh.
know, it's not like Spanish. You know, Spanish has got rules that you can follow, and that's what's great about it. But I forgot what you asked me though.
Favorite podcasts,
Oh,
but
I don't have
also
time.
yeah.
There's a lot of news podcasts that would be
Yeah.
really interesting. Uh, groups of people are doing, you know, podcasts about legal or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I don't seem to. And I read though. See, I read.
Yeah.
I do physical therapy. I do my language, and then I do a bit of cleaning that I should, you know, these things that I should be doing at home. You know, laundry and wash
Dishes.
dishes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard the time. So I'm using it, mostly for educational tools. So if I'm in the car, I'll put some. If I'm flying in an airplane,
Yeah.
I try to look at people that I'm interested in. It could be an author, it could be a politician. Sometimes I like to see because they'll go on podcasts, they'll say things a little more candidly than you will on the 5 o'clock news. And when you kind
Oh,
of get
uh-huh.
people's inside story, or even just, I like the stories. I like kind of the background story to find out. So,
Mhm.
well, this has been so. One more thing. So, this is going to be the last kind of question. What's your advice to the next generation? So, this is, Cody and Serena are the third. The fourth is, Erica's kids are technically would be fourth generation, right? I mean, that's why I look at this
Oh, well, you
family
know,
legacy.
my best advice for just anybody that's young is, I mean, you see a lot of bumper stickers saying "Be kind."
Oh, I love that.
Care about other people. Care
Mhm.
about other people. Care about your family. Um, and you help people when you can. If you're able, you should help people.
That is dynamite, Mom. Well, you are definitely
And
my
save the bee and save the bees.
and save the bees. I
Yeah,
love, I love
thanks
that's a
for
great
that.
that is a great way to end it. Be kind.
Yes,
Be
yes.
be kind. BEEs. We love playing with words, right? So BEE kind and be kind to the bees.
Yes.
Um, I want to be the first to thank you. You are my hero. You're my inspiration. And this was a lot of fun. I think we only scratched the surface, but Mom,
Yes. Did
I
you
love
want me
you.
to show you the picture?
Oh, yeah. I'd lift it up a little bit.
There's
That's Don Johnson.
yeah, right. That was the hair of Don Johnson, right?
And Jacqueline Smith. Yeah,
Yeah.
you looked really young in that picture. We both looked young, huh?
Yeah. Well, I was pretty young, and poor little Mackenzie was going through bad hair when we were on that cruise. But she's a beautiful woman. I don't
Yeah.
have a picture of her, but I mean, I have pictures of her, but I don't have it. But
Yeah. Shout out to my sister. I think Mackenzie is going to be due to be on the podcast. She's in the broadcasting. She actually sells airtime and media.
yes.
Stuff like
Oh,
that.
and it's not just air. I mean, people that work in radio. I mean, it's so complicated. You just wouldn't even understand it. They do shows and promotional concerts and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like
Yeah.
it's a cool job.
Yeah.
Well, all right, Mom. I love you. And thank you for coming on the Dial Pizza podcast.
Okay. All right. Well, have a really good day, Mark. It's nice to see you.
Yeah. We got to do this more often.
Yeah, I know. We don't even have to do it for a podcast, right?
Thanks for listening to the Tao of Pizza podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.